Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, 1/35 Scale Modeler. My name's Dean. In this video, I'm going to show you a really useful technique for 1/35 scale modelling. Casting your own parts in plaster using silicone moulds. Whether you're completely new to the hobby or you've been building and weathering models for years, making your own bricks, cobblestones, paving slabs, roof tiles and walls opens up far more creative options than buying everything ready-made. I'll start by covering what materials you need, and then I'll show you some examples of what I produced. Well, you can see some here already. By the end of the video, I hope you'll have a clear idea of whether you want to start producing your own repeatable parts for roads, buildings and ruins that are literally ready-made by you. They're ready for painting, weathering and dropping straight into any scene that you could be making. And please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. So the first thing you'll need is a mould set. Now, fortunately, there's a UK-based company called Diorama that makes this very easy. They sell online, so ordering moulds is simple and straightforward. Diorama produce high-quality silicone moulds in a variety of scales, 1/12, 1/16, 1/24, 1/35 and 1/48. Although for me it has to be 1/35. And if you do look after your moulds, they will last for a very long time. And they can also handle fairly aggressive resins if you decide that you don't want to use plaster. Now I've got about 16 moulds, which is suitable for me, but I can always add to it. And the moulds I use, and you can see I've got fine chalk, like French chalk, on my fingers already. And why that is done is when I'm not using my moulds, I have them covered in this fine chalk, and it just protects them and keeps them, you know, like ready for use. Now this particular one will create floor tiles. Let's have another one. This one will produce a load of bricks, and that's good for scatter or just building a brick wall or whatever. This one produces like door lintels and window frame lintels. This one is good for piers when you're building walls. There's a window frame. These are good for curbstones, so you get all the different type of curbstones. I'll show you those. Plasterboard, would you believe? I mean, that mould, how thick it is, but how thin the actual, you know, what actually goes on there. It's really quite incredible. The level of detail that is produced by this is exceptional. And this is like a brick wall. Right. So like this here would, you know, if you use the right pigment, you can produce something like this. These will be paving slabs, more types of brick wall, cobblestones, which are very interesting. Yeah, just all sorts, even roof caps. So for casting, my main choice is plaster. I do use resin, but it's very minimal. Now I recommend you use a Crystal R. I've got some here actually. And the reason why I recommend you use Crystal R, or this is Stonecaster. I recommend you use Crystal R. And this is Crystal R here. And the reason why I recommend that is because it's a high strength plaster. This is a 2 kilogram bag, and the mixing ratios is 2.68 kilograms to 1 litre. There are some basic tools you'll need as well to get things right. So for instance, you're going to need, let's move some of these out of the way, clear the decks as it were. Chalk. you're going to need some weighing scales. Just fairly simple ones, nothing too fancy. That's the first thing. You then need a mixing pot. Now you can see this mixing pot isn't very big, and the reason being, as you can see from these moulds, there's not a lot of space in them, so this would be ideal. And then just a little old spoon for mixing it up. You also need an accurate way of measuring how much water you need to deliver, and I picked these up on Amazon. All it is a plastic syringe, and it's got the measurements in mil, which is ideal, so that when you're mixing you know exactly how much water to put in, and then add the weight of the plaster in on top to mix it all up. You need some flat scrapers. And these have been well and truly abused, but trust me, I keep the edges fairly clean, and it's just to rub the back of the mould. When the plaster's in there, you just sort of clean it out. That's all it's for, really. They're fine. Another thing to use is, it's like a bit of glass from an old shelf or something. This is what I got this from, an old shelf. And this is ideal for those really thin moulds, particularly like for these plaster sheets. So you pour the resin in there, and you pour the plaster in there. You can see there's not much space, and then when that's pressed down, it will sit against it like this, and it will make sure that it stays flat, which is very handy. Another thing you're going to need is a soft brush, and a soft brush is actually good for when you're preparing the mould and you're putting in some sort of rinse aid or whatever to make sure that it releases nicely. So that's handy. Rinse aid, as I've just mentioned, and that's just your standard rinse aid that you'd put in a washing machine, dishwasher. So just get a cheap little bottle of that. Latex gloves is worth having, or any form of protective glove, particularly if you are concerned about the contact of chemicals with your skin. I think the plaster's fairly okay, but with the rinse aid, I'm not sure how it would affect you. And then the other thing you're going to need is pigments. Now, I found these on eBay, and you can buy about 6 bags. They're about 50p a bag, and you get 50 grams. And I don't think you'll ever, unless you're doing industrial casting, you're not going to use these up. I've had these for about 3 years now. I've hardly got into them. But like York buff, that would be perfect for Yorkstone. Rustic brown, that would be good for maybe cobblestones. Then you've got terracotta, that could be for your floor tiles. And this is like another yellowy material, pigment, you can see there. And that's not sand, that's a pigment, and it's quite strong. Charcoal, trust me, that you only need, blimey, if you're mixing it up to make slate tiles, that much would probably be perfect for a mould, and you'll get the right colour, the right grey, because the plaster's white. With the black, you'll get a nice good grey for the slate tile. I think this one's some sort of like a green. So you can get some mossy bricks and tiles, really handy. I'll pick these up, and I think you buy six for about £3. I think delivery's only about £1.50, and they have a whole range. So go on eBay, find them. But pigment is really good, really good pigment. So let's have a look at some of the examples of what I've produced. Right. Right, so paving, the slabs that you use for, what do they call those? There's a special name for those. They're like Curbstones, that's it. Curbstones. You know, like, you know, when you're on a pavement. So, you know, look, I mean, look at the detail of that stone. So obviously that's the back, but you can see where they've really worked on, and if you look at it, it's incredible. And then let's hold this up a bit higher so you can see. Just so look. So if you add that onto there, put that in, already, you know, you're starting to produce a bit of a pavement, or the side of a pavement for a road. They even do these ones that look like little mini triangles. So let's go and find one. Of course, I'm not going to find one, am I? Oh yeah, look, here's one. So yeah, look, I've got that there. So if you want to get like a corner, like a 90-degree corner, you can even do that. That's really cool. Those are nice. Now look at these. These are roof tiles, slates, roof slates. Amazing. So, you know, they can go on there. It's quite a thick one actually. Don't need that one. And these are the capping stones. You know, like the where you get the top of the roof pitching from one side to the other. And these are the capping stones that go on there. And then you've got your slate tiles go on. And if you look really closely, yeah, you can see the level of detail in there. It's just amazing. That's those. And then you can produce bricks till they're coming out your ears, just for scatter. Imagine, look at that. You know, grab a whole load of them, all done. Just chucked in a pile near a crater or something, and you've got a bit of scatter. But they're nice little bricks. They are exactly 1/35 scale bricks for a house. Incredible. And then you've got, I think, what these ones? Oh yeah, these are cobblestones. Again. So that's what the cobblestones look like. But if you want to stick them together, and how I do it is, I use a tile, normal kitchen tile, a little bit of PVC glue, paint the back so it creates a skin over it, and then stick them together, and there you go. You got cobbles. I mean, that's only a tiny bit, but you could do whole pavements. And then if you get some of these slabs, obviously you'll need to build this up a bit, but you can see already, you know, if that's built up a bit higher, just how well detailed that could be. Yeah, I'm getting all excited now. I'll start moulding again soon. And then, let's have a look. Okay, well look at this, right? So this is plasterboard. And look how thin it is. But that would be on a brick in a house. I mean, it almost seems a shame to cover it up. But if you wanted to be building and have almost like a bit of a wall exposed, cracked plasterboard, it's there, ready. And you've made that yourself. These are the paving slabs. You know, look at the detail of those. Incredible. These are some of the brick that you'd be using to do piers. There'll be the base of a pier there. this would go onto there, and then you probably have another one that would marry up with that on the side, and a little bit of cleaning, and they all go together, and suddenly you're going around corners with them. Yeah, look, more plasterboard. There's a bit of plasterboard cracked, you know, on a wall. That'll look great. You know, you'd have to get a bit of an operation going to produce, you know, to make sure you produce something. But look at that. I mean, I've only just put that together just quickly, and already, you know, I've got myself a brick wall. Amazing. These are the tops of some of the walls, like, you know, the pier caps. So lots and lots of potential. So I hope this short intro into moulding for you, like possibly moulding for yourself, it's given you insight into what's possible. I'm going to do another video next week, and what I'll do in that video is cover off how to cast in plaster using the silicone moulds, and some of the techniques that you'll need to use to help achieve the best outcome, because air bubbles is one of the biggest enemies of moulding. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.